the reason that we're pushing for production is the last kind of 2, 3, 4 years, you really didn't get much bang for your buck in pure exploration. You put out some spectacular results. You really weren't getting anything for that. And you did start to see a little bit of a pivot to companies looking to advance their projects and start generating revenue. We just have a faster pathway to that.
Kelly and Andreas, Borealis Mining, good afternoon to you, my friends. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. To all my viewers and listeners, just full disclosure, I am an active investor in Borealis Mining. I met Kelly here in Atlanta, decided to start acquiring the stock. What really got me interested in Borealis was first the project and the opportunity. Second was actually Kelly and the way he approached things. Third was Rob McEwen. I knew that he was an investor and actually talked to Rob multiple times about the company. Andreas, this is the first time we've talked, so I'm really getting interested into asking you some questions. But Kelly, let's jump right into it here. Talk to me about some exciting news that you coming up that you shared with me off camera.
Sure. So the two things we're waiting on, and I think I've spoken publicly about this before, is we're waiting. We have a mine plan. We have a mine permit. It's called a mining plan of operations at Borealis. What we did was in about May, submitted something called a minor modification to that permit. And what the minor modification will allow us to do is increase the size of the pits that are currently permitted. So we're basically doing pushbacks on all of them and allowing us to get into different mining scenarios, gives us some operational flexibility, allows us the opportunity as gold keeps going up here, even the previous waste rock becomes more and more valuable. So it gives us the opportunity to mine more and ideally generate more revenue. So we're waiting on the final sign off from two different regulatory bodies. We did receive approval from one of them. So hopefully counting the days here, but hopefully anytime soon we'll be able to put that out. And I think that's really exciting for us because that will be the trigger and the thing that pushes us into actually getting back into operations. That's kind of the thing we've been waiting on before we sign up contractors, before we finalize our scheduling. So really, really big piece that we're sitting here waiting for, but we do anticipate receipt, although it is still regulatory, so you never know. But
Yeah.
crossed, and please cross them with us. But we do anticipate that in relatively short order. And then the other one, Andy, of course, is gold pours. So we are actively heap leaching. We've got about 115,000 tons or 110,000 tons under cyanide heap leach at the moment. We are collecting gold in our plant, and again, looking forward to imminent gold pours. And we poured gold in the past if you look at our old news, but this one's really fun for our team because this is our genuine efforts and our crushing and our hauling and our loading and our dumping and our plan to extract gold. So it feels like it's our first real gold pour as a company. The other stuff that we've done was it's called residual leaching. So just kind of washing the leftover gold from previous operators. Whereas this is ours. This is our Andreas's hard work and the team's hard work and all the guys' hard work and my watching and poking and prodding work.
Well, let me talk to all my viewers and listeners about that. I look at three things on the Lassonde curve, if you would. I like really early projects, usually, well, because when they hit, they just skyrocket, but they're very risky. But that is my risk preference and risk tolerance. That is not a recommendation. That's just something I look for to all my viewers and listeners. The second thing I look for is deep value in the middle of the Lassonde curve. This Lassonde curve goes like this, correct? To all my viewers and listeners. Then I look for companies that are going into production. If you can pick up a company going into production 12 to 18 months out, typically and this is not always, use your own due diligence, but you get at least a double going in production. What I loved about Borealis is this. they have a permit to mine. They are in a great jurisdiction, and they're going to be pouring gold here imminently. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andreas and Kelly, if I can say that. That is music to my ears. At 3,400 gold prices, US dollars, you are printing money when you're pouring gold. So, Kelly, talk to me a little bit. You got hopefully a gold pour here. Congratulations to all of us, since I am a shareholder. But tell me about, what does production look like here moving forward? And I actually wish that more mining companies would use this model at these high gold prices, because you can internally finance a lot of projects and a lot of growth. Talk to me about that.
Exactly. So I'm in total agreement. One of my really good trades lately was Artemis Gold. Same thing, bought it pre-production and then boom, what a wonderful return. Um, Not saying that's going to happen here, FYI, but certainly
I
it's
think it's what happened. That's why I'm an
interesting.
investor, but those are my thoughts. Go ahead.
So take a step back here, Andy. The reason that we're pushing for production is the last kind of 2, 3, 4 years, you really didn't get much bang for your buck in pure exploration. You put out some spectacular results. You really weren't getting anything for that. And you did start to see a little bit of a pivot to companies looking to advance their projects and start generating revenue. We just have a faster pathway to that. So we went down this road. We hired an internal mining engineer to work under Andreas last summer, I believe, who remodeled everything, rebuilt mine plans. We've built internal scheduling. We've built ramps. We've built essentially rejigged the entirety of our internal working model. And with that, that's when we determined that we needed to get this little minor modification to maximize value. So yeah, this process has been ongoing for quite some time. It's also owning a fully permitted operation is expensive. We do have costs associated with that. We've got a full-time staff. There's 2 people on day and night, 24/7, 365, with health and safety, with a mine superintendent, admin assistants, and all that stuff. So, and electricity costs and pump costs. So we definitely have been pushing to turn the taps back on here. The gold pours that we've done so far have been quite helpful in minimizing those costs, but it'd be great. And I'm a very big shareholder as well, as is Andreas, but we would love to see some of that gold um, making money for us and actually generating some real cash that we can then use to advance exploration or build out Sandman or look at different assets and acquisitions. So I think it's a cool time. I'm really excited. I'm anxiously watching my daily updates on on gold production coming into the mill or into the plant. Sorry. So yeah, it's a pretty cool time. And then in terms of what production could look like down the line, I'll give that to Andreas. Obviously, we can't really give any guidance, but um, looks quite interesting and intriguing, and there's a really good value prop there, I think.
Okay, let's go to Andreas here. Andreas, let's talk about, I know you can't give guidance, but Kelly just said. That being said, pouring gold, you're the COO. I mean, that means a lot. What exactly does that look like that you can talk about for Borealis? But I also want you to discuss growth here, because again, talking to all my viewers and listeners, you really hit a sweet spot when you have a company that's going in production, but there's so much other potential to bring more online to production. It's not just a production story. Sometimes these mine lives only have a few years, a handful of years. That is not the case for Borealis. So tell me about the upside for exploration and what you're trying to do and potential acquisitions that you can talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, looking at Borealis in particular, we're in a high sulfidation epithermal zone, one of the largest alteration zones in all of Nevada, actually 21 square kilometers of alteration. So we have these high grade cores, these pits that we've defined. Some of them have been mined previously, a couple in our mine plan. One of them, Purdy Peak, hasn't been mined before, actually. So we get to go through that entire high grade core. And in this area, beyond what we have in terms of mining potential directly available to us, we also have a lot of exploration potential. We have pit expansion potential. There's certain areas where maybe we were following this northeastern trend that connects all of our pits, and some of these adjacent offshoots were really never followed up completely by previous operators. And there's some really intriguing potential both on those strikes, the offshoots, and a couple exterior zones to our current mine plan, where we could see ourselves adding quite a lot of ounces. So that's really our objective on the near-term Borealis footprint, some of the exploration potential we have. And Kelly can attest in terms of, let's say, soil sampling, grab samples. The whole area is littered with above ppb into ppm gold grades in a lot of our samples. Our soil grade looks pretty impressive when you look at it that way. In terms of the amount of gold distribution we have across the property is impressive. Well,
A
that's
lot
really exciting.
in real bedrock too, which is a nice thing for many of your listeners, that we're not kind of guessing. You can literally put your finger on where the deposit is and actually have that daylighting its surface, which is, it's a nice treat for me too, having spent most of my career working undercover.
So if you can work that out, whatever you can, and maybe it's best to discuss who's around you and what these other companies have to give you an idea, to give all my viewers and listeners and myself of the potential here of Borealis. So,
Sure.
yeah.
So the closest neighbors would be Headwater Gold, who's got a partnership at the moment with Newmont. I believe that's a fully funded joint venture that Newmont is working. I think they're spending, don't quote me formally on this, but somewhere in the order of $3 to $6 million this year. And they have a right to earn in, I believe, 70%. And again, check their press release to validate that. Directly adjacent, sort of sandwich between, or Headwater is sandwiched between us and Hecla. Hecla's got a mine there called Aurora. This used to be called the Aurora Borealis Gold Trend. And the other bigger sort of, they've actually been doing quite well in the market, neighbor would be Lahontan Gold, who would be about probably 25 miles or so directly as the crow flies, although you do have to go around some mountains to get from them to us. But they've got 2+ million ounces, I believe, working on an economic study, and I've had some great success over the past month or two in the market as well.
So really a lot of gold all around you. And that's why you picked up this property, or that's why you have this property, I'm assuming. Andreas, let's go back to you. Talk a little bit about the infrastructure. Probably the biggest cost associated with building a mine and mining is making sure that you have power, access to water, roads, all of that sort of thing. And then, tell me about that.
Yeah, certainly. Well, you kind of name that list and we can tick off every one of them. So we have our own substation already delivering grid power. So we don't need to have a LNG plant or any diesel. We basically can run power to our plant. We have water wells, so for fully permitted water rights. And we have water wells at 350 gallons per minute is the flow rate coming in. In short, it's enough to feed our heap leach and processing facilities with ample supply, which in Nevada, it's really something you can't underestimate, is obtaining, securing water rights. Permitting for that can be very difficult depending on what basin you're working in. So water rights and electrical, we've got that covered. Coming in, we've got, year-round access to our mine via a county road, and then we just spur off that to the mine, about a half an hour away from the town of Hawthorne. So a lot of our workforce is based there, and they drive in on the daily, in and out, which again saves on cost when you don't have to have a camp or complicated logistics, and you can actually pull from a nearby workforce. And then at the plant itself, we've got ADR plant, that's absorption, desorption, recovery plant. So it's fully operational. We're gearing ourselves up there to be producing for our first pour. That really runs you through an entire motion. You need to capture your gold in your carbon columns. And then from there, you're going to need to run it through a strip process. So we run what's called a Zadra strip process. That's a conventional process that liberates the gold from your carbon into essentially a sludge. We then capture that precipitate in electrowinning cell. It's similar to electroplating. It's, again, a conventional mining technology, but electroplating would fuse that gold onto your cathode We absolutely don't want that. So we do electrowinning, so a lower charge and basically precipitates, but then can be washed down. So we have all that, and all that comes to essentially uh, a sludge, a dried sludge, a cake, which contains very high gold and silver values. We put that in our furnace and we make a gold pour. So it's quite a few pieces to this recipe. All of them have to work well. There's a lot of infrastructure involved with each part. And thankfully, it's all built out in our plant. We're putting in new pumps. We have all our lines run to our leach pad. We have a fully permitted leach pad, which is, again, another catalyst for us. We didn't have to build out a leach pad, permit it, go through anything. We have capacity there to place ore. And this is what allows us to kick into mining a lot faster than a lot of the other companies around.
Right. So I'm going to ask you this. I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask you this, Andreas. One of the biggest costs associated with mining is a mill. And I go to dinners, luncheons all the time here in Atlanta, and I do this for a living. I probably interviewed, 200 companies in the past 2 years. And talk to me about a mill. It's somewhat of a trick question for all my viewers and listeners. And I've heard the word several times, leaching, heap leaching. So you just saved yourself $30 to $40 million. I'll speak for you, but talk to me about that process a little bit more.
Yes. So in our case, because of our mineralization type, because we are primarily mining what are called oxide and transition materials, in these cases here, over that oxidation process, the gold was liberated from the sulfide material, from its original matrix, and is therefore accessible with minimal amount of crushing to cyanidation. If you're dealing with very, very fresh rock, sometimes that gold will be encased in the sulfides. That's called refractory material. And in those cases there, you can't really heap leach that material effectively. You won't get that gold back. So thankfully, we have oxide and transition material, which is the primary focus of our mining operation. And we also have about 10 years of operating data behind us from the 1980s, more than 10 years of successful leaching that we can look back to, which functions as a very high-powered metallurgical test, a validation. So we do know that this material has very good leach dynamics. It responds well to cyanide, and we get good recoveries. So talking about that, the decision you can make is if your material is suitable to heap leaching and you're getting good recoveries, then you can choose to heap leach, which would have a lower upfront capex, a lot of savings versus a mill, both in the build out of the mill and the associated tailings facilities. So reduced capex and also reduced opex on a per ton basis. So instead of me having to crush this down to rock dust, rock flour, I can actually crush it down to 1.5 inches. So you can imagine the energy cost savings that are incurred there, and still get recoveries we've modeled of 73 to 77% on this material that we're actually leaching in.
Got it. Kelly, if you could, so I mentioned to Andreas, you guys are a young group.
We are.
Yeah.
Young operation, older board. So we've got the best of both worlds, Andy.
Right. Well, I want you to talk about that because that can cut both ways. I actually, to all my viewers and listeners, I really like it, but it's all about the team. The experience on the team and who's on the board if you have younger guys, but usually younger guys have a lot of energy and a lot of aggression, which I want, if you would. But Kelly, I want you to talk 2 things about that experience, address that, the age of the team here, and also address, if you would, go into share structure and cash in the bank to get this project through. How much cash do you have? And give me your shares outstanding, fully diluted. But let's talk about youth first.
Okay, I'll just answer the shares so I don't forget. 115.24 million outstanding at the moment. I think we closed at 78 cents, putting us about 90 million Canadian market cap.
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thanks very much. Stock's looking good. And I know we talked about this briefly last time. We do have a bit of a warrant overhang for the next, call it 2 weeks, Andy. There's about 16 million warrants, some of which have started to be exercised lately, that will expire on the 14th at 75 cents. So we're probably in a bit of a kind of a block here for the next 2 weeks. But that if all exercise, that's 16 million Canadian that will bring in. We've got a few million in the bank, and again, we're going to start pouring gold here. So we're in a good position cash wise. I don't have the exact numbers offhand, but I'm
No
certainly
problem. That's
not
what I want to know.
losing hair over it.
Yeah. You answered that question. Let's
Great.
talk about your age, man.
Yeah, I'm 39 years old as of 2 months ago. Um, uh, Pretty darn experienced. I kind of lucked into my first ever job at Detour Gold. Was soil sampling. We soil sampled above a brand new gold deposit called the 58 North Discovery. I worked that from literally soil sample through to all the drilling work, advanced that sucker to 600,000 ounce deposit at about 7 grams. So a nice, beautiful high grade discovery. From there, went into the junior world, have been CEO of a Yukon Explorer that unfortunately didn't find much gold, but got some breadth of experience there. Been on a few boards, and then really where my career kind of blossomed was with Amex Exploration, AMX on the venture, who's been on a bit of a tear over the past while as well. We identified there better than 2 million ounces of gold, beautiful grades, and that thing will be a mine in the near future. So lots of capital markets and geological experience on my end. Mining less so, but we've got a great bench, and Andreas included. Andreas worked at Detour Gold for the first chunk of his career, worked over at Cote Lakes, Trelawney, worked out in the East Coast on some iron ore operations. Got a great depth of experience in genuine operations, mine planning. They watched Detour turn around, and Andreas was very influential in that process. And then on the board, Andy, we've got rock stars that have built mining companies left, right, and center. Bob Buchan, our chairman, built Kinross Gold from a single asset, or I think it was 3 asset company similar to Borealis right now, and has 50 years of, he's 80 or so today, is 50 years of executive level management of some of the world's top mining companies. Rich Patricio built some monster uranium companies in his day, including Next Gen Energy. Christina McCarthy worked operationally with Rob McEwen for a number of years at McEwen Mining, built and sold her own first pubco called Paycore Minerals a few years ago, listed that, sold it in, I think, 7 months post-listing. And Greg Gibson, a rock star, genuine miner. I think Greg's first job was actually properly running a jackleg in an underground mine in Timmins. And he was the president of Eric Sprott's private company called Sprott Mining, where they ran the Jarrett Canyon mine. Prior to that, he built and sold company called Trelawney Mining, which is now IM Gold's flagship asset, Cote Lake. So we got some players, and I guess on the CFO, really, Santa Lewis, we don't talk about her all that much, but very, very influential and important. She's actually worked at Borealis in and around it for 20 years or so. She started there as a controller under previous management, was essentially acquired when Waterton took that over, and then worked with Waterton for the past 10 or so years at 15 different Nevada mining operations, deep operational experience. So I'm comfortable. We've certainly gotten we've passed the smell test from some really big investors in terms of our capabilities, and certainly enthusiasm, like you mentioned, which I honestly, I'm an investor outside of just Borealis as well in names. And you look at companies like Vizsla, where you've got a young, dynamic, hungry team. Those guys built that thing like it's amazing to see what they've accomplished there. So there's, or Great Bear Resources. I like energy, and I like enthusiasm, and I like people that have the chance to genuinely change their life and their family's life with some success, which we're set up to do here. And I can assure you that I would like to make some life-changing money on this company.
Yeah. So to all my viewers and listeners, this is what I look for in management, if you would. And this is now, I'm bringing this up because this is Borealis, but not specific to Borealis. This is, again, why I check my box. I prefer, it's not by any means a deal killer, but I prefer a young CEO or a younger team. When I say younger, I mean less than 50, but I don't have, that is not a sticker either way. But what it shows to me typically is that there's a lot of aggression and a lot of just moving the needle forward and pushing it. You really need that in mining. But that alone isn't enough. What I want to see on the bench, if you would, or I want to see in support and building a team around is the silver hair experience, people that have done this before, because the younger person, in this case, Kelly, and Kelly is not young in today's standards, but he is young in mining. He can go and use those people as a resource for advice, whether that's in mining or in the capital markets and raising money. So that's very, very important to me.
You can also bark at me once in a while when barking is required. So it's great to have that experience on top. Yes,
It really is. It's really when you have a mixture of that plus a great asset, if you would, and moving things along, that's can be not always, but that can be where the magic happens. Kelly, if you could, while we wrap this up, if people are interested in you, can you give me how they can reach out to you, or Andreas? How can they? What exchanges are you traded on, and your ticker symbols?
TSX Venture under BOGO BOGO. OTC BORM like Mary, F like Frank, Frankfurt L4B0. Info at borealismining.com. Our website's borealismining.com. We're on the Verify platform if you want to do a little site tour. We're on Twitter, LinkedIn. The team's very, very active on those. So follow us. We put up some fun posts with some really great updates, photos from the site. We just put up some drone photos and videos from that I took last week or the week before of the crushing setup and operation. So we're everywhere, and we love to speak to investors. So please feel free to give us a call. Our office number's on the website, and I'd love to chat. So that's
And I will say to all my viewers and listeners, Kelly was very and has been very, very responsive to me. And I want to thank you for that, Kelly. Yes. Well, I hope to have you on again really soon. Really when the next batch of news comes out, or when you're pouring gold, I'd love to have you on.
fantastic.
All right. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you, Andreas.
Likewise. Have a great day.
Take care.